Hello and welcome to another edition of Ask the Consistory, a video podcast produced by the Confessional Orthodox Evangelical Lutheran Communion. I'm your host for this video, Reverend Jake Zabel of St. John's Evangelical Lutheran Church, located in Dalby, Queensland, Australia. So, for this video, we're going to be discussing the topic of only begotten and what it means for Christ to be only begotten. Before I get onto that, I just wanted to quickly talk about the topic of monogenes, or the Greek word monogenos, which means only begotten. It comes from two words, monos, meaning only, and genos, meaning born, which comes from the Greek word ginomai, meaning to be brought into existence. This word appears 9 times in the Bible, 5 times in reference to Jesus, all in John's writings in John 1:14, 1:18, 3:16, 3:18, and the first epistle of John, chapter 4, verse 9. It also appears once in Hebrews 11:27 in reference to Isaac being Abraham's only begotten son, and it also appears in Luke 7:12 and 9:38 in reference to a person's son, and once in Luke in reference to a person's daughter in Luke 8:42. Now, older English versions translate monogenos as only begotten, such as the King James Bible of 1611. However, many modern translations, like the New International Version or the English Standard Version, they translate it as only, or one and only. Even the God's Eternal Word translation, which is an English translation done by Pastor Clarence Pribenow of the Australian Evangelical Lutheran Church, he translates monogenos as only rather than only begotten. Now, there are a few modern versions, such as the New American Standard Bible and also an American translation done by Pastor Beck of the Missouri Synod, and also the Evangelical Heritage Version recently put out by the Wisconsin Synod. They all translate this as only begotten. So how should monogenos be translated? Well, based on the meaning of genos, it would make sense to have only begotten rather than just only. If we look at other early editions of the English Bible, such as the Tyndale Bible of 1534, the Great Bible of 1539, the Geneva Bible of 1560, the Bishop's Bible of 1568, and also the Douay-Rheims translation of the Latin Vulgate into English from 1582, they all use only begotten. The Wycliffe English Bible from 1382 uses unbegetten. It's just kind of old English version of only begotten. Also, the Wessex Gospel of 1175 and the Hatton Gospels of 1160 both use a very old German English, and they use the word agaten. They use the word akeneden, which also means only begotten. Luther's German Bible uses Eingeborenen, which means only born or only begotten. And the Latin Vulgate uses unum gentium, which means only generated or only begotten. Although not all early English Bibles followed this same rule, in fact, the Coverdale Bible of 1535 and the Matthews Bible of 1537 both translate monogenos as only. And see, although the King James does translate monogenos as only begotten in reference to Jesus in John's writings and in reference to Isaac in the book of Hebrews, if you look at the 3 verses found in Luke, the King James here translates monogenos as either only or only one, such as my one daughter, rather than translating it as my only begotten daughter. And this is not unique to the King James. The Tyndale, the Great Bible, Bishop's Bible, and Douay-Rheims all do the same. Even Luther, in his German in Luke's Gospel, uses einzige, which means only. And also the Latin Vulgate uses unicus, which means only, from where we get our English word unique whenever the word monogenos appears in Luke's Gospel. Now, the Geneva Bible is the only translation to translate monogenos in Luke's Gospel as only begotten. But even here, the Geneva Bible only does this in Luke 7:12, and not in Luke 8:42, where it translates monogenos as only, And also neither does it do it in Luke 9:38, where it translates monogenos as all that I have. So this just goes to show that the word monogenos can be translated as either only begotten or one and only, and it really depends on the translator. But the history of the church for the first 1900 years was that monogenos, whenever used in reference to Jesus, was always translated as only begotten, while when used in reference to other people, it was often translated as only one. Although in reality, the correct translation should always be only begotten, since that better fits the term monogenos. So with that out of the way, what does it actually mean to say that Jesus is the only begotten Son of God? And which is better to say, only begotten? And which is a better translation of monogenos, only begotten or only one? Well, it is better to say that Jesus is the only begotten Son of God, rather than merely his only Son. For all who have faith in God have been adopted as sons of God. Thus, Jesus is not the only Son of God, for all Christians are sons and daughters of God. But Jesus is the only begotten Son of God. He is the only one of the same substance of the Father, God of God, light of light, very God of very God. As mentioned above, genos means born, from the word ginomai, meaning to be brought into existence. Jesus is the only Son of God who gets his essence and substance from the Father. Jesus is not just a Son of God. He is God the Son. This is why we should call Jesus the only begotten Son of God, because all Christians are sons and daughters of God, but Jesus alone is the only begotten of the Father. And with that said, I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. If you would like any of your questions answered by the coelc consistory, please email us at our email address, coelc-atc@hotmail.com. Thank you for watching. I've been your host, Jake Zabel. Goodbye and God bless.